Hey, I'm Yasu. I'm a cinematographer and gaffer, and today I am breaking down Snow Miser and Heatmeister because this year is the 50th anniversary for A Year Without Santa Claus. And what better way to talk about this beautiful movie than to break it down? Let's get into this. Okay, start off with to get us started, right? I want to talk about the fact how this is it's 1.33 to 1 aspect ratio. So a 1 to 1 aspect ratio would be something along the lines of this. It's a square. It means that the horizontal and the vertical lines are the same. A 1-3 would be something along the lines of it's ever so slightly bigger on the top, but keep the sides of the same tiny bit. So this is 1.33 to 1, also known as 4-3, which means that the length is 1.33 times the height, which is 1. But just for effective sake, I'm going to show you this. So assume this is accurate size. 16:9, which is what most things are filmed in, would be its mass. It's so big. Would be something along the lines of this, right? So it's 16 by 9, so the length is the length is 16 times and the height is 19 times 1 by 1, or a square. And this was filmed in 4:3, which is not exactly this. This is a bit overdramatic, but the point stands that 4:3, which I think helped in this film so that you didn't have to build as much sets, movement could be done a lot quicker because you can only film in such a small area. But now that I got that covered, let's get back into this.
Here he comes
Ooh, that's
now,
a nice
the
pan.
big hand.
None of the camera moves here are legitimate camera moves because it's stop motion. But whoever the cinematographer, director, whoever did the filming of this, tried their best to mimic those camera moves, and they did so well. Like this feels natural, right? It feels like a normal hand to left, stage right,
Here he
eh, most more or less. I think I love claymation as an art form because they're so limited of what they have to work with, and they can produce so much beautiful stuff because they have to focus on that stuff. Like they can't skimp on details as much, but they can like put more effort into some of the other stuff. Let's get back into this though.
Here he comes now, the big hand.
Who's it gonna be? Oh, I paused it again. Obviously, this is a mix here. It's not entirely claymation. Animation on top of the animation to give us no effect. They could have done this on set, but it's a pain in the butt to try to animate that on different frames because they're moving on a different frame rate than Mr. Snow Miser himself here, and that would have been a pain in the butt. That would have taken so much more time, and it just would have been awful for production. So the easiest solution is, hey, just mix in some animation with some stop motion, and well, bam, beautiful effect.
Oh, the big hand.
I'm Mr. White Christmas. I'm Mr. Snow. I'm Mr. Icicle.
Set design wise, I love hair. Trying to figure out how they would do that. It may just be melted plastic, but it obviously does the effect of looking like snow, but it's ice, I guess technically. Ice that's semi-cloudy, and I love it. Compared to the ice on the nose, which looks more fake, the ice on the head looks so different, and it's kind of cool.
I'm Mr. Ten Below. Friends call me Snow Miser. Whatever I touch turns to snow in my clutch. I'm too much. He's Mr.
Oh, whoa, look at that!
White
Look! I didn't talk about this beauty. Now, this, lighting-wise, is beautiful. There's an easy way to identify how many lights and where the lights are in this, and it's these little goofballs on the side here. Because if you look here, he's got a shadow, two shadows, three shadows. I'll be like, oh, well, that could be from this guy. No, because look here, one shadow, two shadow, three shadow. but I don't see a shadow behind them. That could just be the light the way it is now. There's a shadow behind them. So that means that this is lit with three lights, probably lower end, like 100-watt tungstens at the most. It has to be low light because these models are super small. But that being said, the light source would be over here, passing down this way. We'd have some sort of light, like a semi overhead, semi not up here to give us that front light, and then one over here to cast that light. But we know there's no light in front of them, obviously, because there's a shadow here, which would be illuminated if there was a front light, and again, there'd be shadows behind them back here. But since neither of those are present, those are our three lighting sources. I believe I'm trying to figure out which one's the key light. Key light in the scene may even be split up in half, where this key light actually goes to these guys to light up like down here, and then this is the key light for these guys over here, and then the other one is used for fill up in these top areas to, define the face better, which is really interesting because that's such a wacky way of lighting that you don't see nowadays often. No, that's sick. I love that. That's so sick. Oh my gosh. Then obviously the back has its own light to give distinction from the characters. Nice. And the lighting changed here. Whoa, whoa, whoa! What the? Hold on a second. I need to talk about what happened there. Do you notice anything bizarre about these two? Lighting wise. So I'm going to label this 1 and 2 real quick, just so we can have comparison. Now, in the first image, he's facing this way, and the light is hitting him from up here. Because if you look at the face, this is illuminated, and more specifically, his nose is casting a shadow here. That's the most important part about this, right? But so yeah, there's a little bit of light here getting through, but the nose is casting this massive shadow here, which is crazy. Because if you look in this one, he's not facing this way, right? An entire 180 flip. Now the light's coming from this way, which is a three-quarter backlight because most of the face is shrouded in darkness, minus this light triangle here, which is Rembrandt lighting because it's one of the most common film practice. But you notice something different? You know something different? Obviously, at the end of the day, lighting is supposed to help bring a film forward. It doesn't need to be consistent. And 99% of people won't even notice that this stuff. But the lighting is coming from a different way. It's illuminating his face differently. Now you could be the argument that I said earlier about, hey, obviously here's him in the middle, and he just has this light here and this light here still, and he just is facing is far enough away from that light to cause any lighting issues. Yeah, that could be. That could be. I'll give you that. But I don't think so. Because if you look at this one, there's a backlight, obviously, to get that nice opaque white hair. But his face has no light. On this one there's a little bit of lighting, but not as much. I think honestly what they did here is they just changed the scenes. They probably filmed that the wide first, then they cut to the two profiles, which was good. That's what most people do. If you do that, if you notice, you're kind of weird. But yeah, I think it's weird. It annoys me. It annoys me that the lighting's not consistent. But again, nobody's going to notice it unless you point it out, and it's the vibe of the scene very well. At the end of the day, they wanted the scene to be lit in a way that casts his face in darkness both ways because it shows how his morals are more two-faced, I guess. I don't know. But the point I'm trying to get here is that while it's important to have rules, it's important to keep lighting the same. At the end of the day, as long as you know the rules, you can break the rules however you need for your artistic dream. And that's obviously what happened here.
Friends call me Snow Miser. Whatever I touch turns to snow in my clutch. He's too much. I never wanna know a day that...
You know what? Let's go back to back to back, okay? Now, I want to talk about this one because once again, it changes. Again, it doesn't matter. Consistency doesn't matter if it tells the effect of the story. But this one is solely an overhead with maybe a fill from the upper right up here. Maybe. So I'm looking here, and then maybe a little bit of light casting up here, and like this side's more in light than this light. But it's way far back. It's so far back that it's just doing a little bit of light to help bring his character out some. The main motivating light in this source is the top light, because when the light's pointing straight down, it creates this butterfly effect, is what it's called. Because on the human nose, when a light is directly above them pointing down, you get a little like, let me just do a little good diagonal. The nose's shadow casts like a butterfly look, right? That's how it got the name butterfly lighting, because the overhead light cast a shadow that looks like a butterfly. However, on Mr. Snow Miser here, his nose is massive. Like it's a massive schlong. No, don't keep that in. Don't keep that in. It basically has the same effect, right? The light's slightly above him, more towards the front, so it's not entirely cast in shadow, because you can still see his face features. If it was entirely overhead, he would have like shadows under the eyes and barely have any light in the face. So it's more like cast light in the face, but still over the nose, which I'm guessing they did here because of the fact that he likes it cold. And what does that look like? An icicle. Although again, we do have some fill from over here because this is dark, but this is light. And again, same logic of like, hey, the light's slightly in front of him, so his chin also pops out. But we know we have this, like, but we know I know we have this near side fill over here because his cane is casting a little shadow right here, which is here, and there's no way that could happen if it's an overhead light. And there's no way it's coming from a frontal light in front of him because, well, again, the shadow's there. So, yeah, no, that's sick. I think that's pretty sick, though, honestly, that they implemented an overhead light in such a way that it doesn't feel awkward.
40 degrees. I'd rather have a 30, 20, 10, 5, and then
That's such a good effect of the stop motion. It shows how fast it's freezing. And of course, some animation to round it out.
He's Mr. White Christmas.
And this looks that was probably filmed at the same time as this one because of the fact that the lighting's the same. And production wise, it would make no sense to film it in chronological order. Because why would you film wide, then push into the close up, and light that and do all stuff there, and then just go back out to the wide to film again? It would be a nightmare to do that. So what they did is they probably filmed these two scenes and any other ones with the same lighting first, and then they did the close-ups, obviously. That's sick. I mean, I can't know for sure, obviously, because I work with digital film and not stop motion. But I think that if that's the case, good on them for being productive.
He's Mr. White Christmas. He's Mr. Snow. That's right. He's Mr. Ice.
Okay, this is cool. So basically, what's happening here is there's definitely a mirror on the set that was embedded onto the ground with the fake snow material. Yeah, the fake snow material on the edges to cover the edge of the mirror. And then the tilt up to them is a beautiful shot.
Friends call me Snow Miser. Whatever I touch turns to snow in my clutch. Too much. Too much.
Was that a slide wipe? Oh my gosh. I haven't seen one of those since I was like editing videos back in like the Windows like embedded software. Yeah, that is. That's great. Ooh.
I'm Mr. Green.
Immediately, I'm going to talk about this scene because this is a wide. Now, I will say that the quality is bad because, again, it's the 50th anniversary of this movie, so it should have come out in 1974. Let me double check that. Yep, 1974. Either way, this one is lit. Ooh, let me see. Oh, because I'm on the wrong layer. No, that's the wrong layer. Obviously, there's a frontal light here, which is casting their entire face, which is why they're entirely exposed. There's no darkness there. And then if you look here, we have a light here probably and a light here. Because if you look at Mr. Heatmeister's shadows, there looks to be one here from him in the chair, and then one off to the side here. So that's a light. This will be the key light, obviously, because it's the main light providing it, while the other two just fill in. I think if I go back to the video real quick, there's a cool technique I want to talk about. Yeah, that fire effect. I want to talk about that fire effect real quick. Get out of here. Now, the reason that fire effect is so cool is that back in the 70s, I don't think they had any sort of way that they could mimic the fire effect. I doubt they had a fire on set because that's impractical as hell. So the light that's casting it is a frontal one. Basically, what they had there is they had a big straight like stick with red, orange, and yellow gels going across it. And basically, what they did there Basically, they would move the stick back and forth in front of the light so that the gels would flicker on off through the colors very quickly. Actually,
Mr. Green.
they may have had two of them, so may have also had a vertical one also, which was also doing the same thing, where they were going back and forth in front of the light. But basically, what that would do is that cycling through the colors of the light would give like a moving fire effect, and then the gaps in the light would be like when the fire gets dim. And that's a poor man's way to cast a fire effect on something if you don't have like a fancy special effect mode on your lights. Stuff like this is why I love lighting so much, is because to get the effect you need without breaking the bank or breaking the set, you gotta come up with genius techniques like this to mimic lighting, which is so cool. I have no clue where the light is, honestly, because I don't think I see it on them, so it can't be in front of them. So maybe it's the top, it's a high angle looking down kind of a thing. I don't know, but it's cool as hell.
I'm Mr. Green Christmas. I'm Mr. Sun. I'm Mr. Heat
And
Blister.
an immediate change of lighting. Okay, so yeah, they may not be the most consistent with lighting, but it does the effect they need it to do. By the way, this one's super easy. This one is far side key because the far side of the face is lit up. If there's a near side key, the other side, the side closest to the camera would be lit up. And then for fill, they have overhead lights because these little goofballs have shadows. You too, Heat Miser. Don't think I forgot about you. But these are just mostly giving fill to the characters to make them stand out from the background. Then we also have just an extra light over here, which is causing this to be lit up. Because without that light there, the whole corner would be shrouded in darkness, kind of like this one over here. Womp.
Mr. Green Christmas. I'm Mr. Sun. I'm
I mean,
Mr. Heat
it's also,
Blister.
it's also really cool that the Snow Miser has a lot more like animation, while the Heat Miser has more practical lights. The Snow Miser and the Heat Miser aren't on the same page right now. They both literally have different styles of animation, and that's cool as hell.
I'm Mr. 101. They call me Heat Miser. Whatever I touch starts to melt in my clutch.
Look again, that was all practical, which is cool as heck. I think again, I know it's not intended probably, but that's a cool way to tell these two characters apart, kind of a thing.
I'm too much.
He's Mr. Green Christmas, he's Mr. Sun. He's Mr. Heat Blister, he's Mr. 101.
They call me Heat Miser. Whatever I touch starts to melt in my clutch.
He's too much.
Okay, let me go back there real quick. Now this lighting is again, it's simple. I think this one literally is. This is like a 3/4 front light going this way, which casts light on the face, but not the nose, obviously, because it casts a shadow here, which disproves the fact of it being a front light. One thing I noticed is that he has like lights in his hair, which I have no clue how they do that. They have like a flickering light in the ear here, which gives a nice flame look to it. And then obviously we have some sort of gelled light under him, which is a fill light to look like he's in a fiery pit of hell, honestly. Super simple, but I think that's important to talk about is the fact that like even the simplest shots have a decent amount of lighting put into them to, try to tell the story that they're trying to tell.
Mr. 101.
They call me Heat Miser. Whatever I touch starts to melt in my clutch.
He's too much.
Thank you. I never want to know a day that's under 60 degrees. I'd rather have it 80, 90, 100 degrees. Oh, some like it hot, but I like it really hot.
He's Mr. Green.
Oof, that's good. got another good shot here. Now this one's really cool because it's simple, right? All it is it's a front facing light hitting them straight on because the shadows are like this. They're pretty close to eye level also just because of how distorted the shadows are. I don't think they have any other lights other than, the fire lights that have been going on constantly, and they may have a fill light over here. I can't tell if the highlights here are from the key light or the fill light up here that may exist. But I mean, I think what I'm trying to highlight with all these examples is that if you're someone that constantly worries about the lighting being consistent, don't be. It's rare to find a movie that has lighting that is consistent in every shot because some shots you may want to get, the light will not hit you properly. And so, as long as you know that you're lighting differently and you're not like lighting for whatever reason, it's fine. As we've seen in this little bit of this movie, lighting has not been consistent in any of the shots, but it still looks stunning. Because at the end of the day, your artistic choices trump any rules that need to be followed as long as it looks good and it tells the story that you want to tell. Let's round this out finally.
He's Mr. Green Christmas. He's Mr. Sun. He's Mr. Heath Lister. He's Mr. 101.
They call me Heath Miser.
Obviously, this isn't practical.
Starts to melt in my clutch.
That is, but the light itself is obviously being animated in After Effects.
Too much.
No, honestly, I am amazed on how well this is lit because this is the 70s, right? And it's also claymation. And that's why I claim this to be one of my favorite and honestly one of the best Christmas movies that have ever been made just because technically speaking, it's a gorgeous movie. Most of them are. A lot of the claymation movies that came out are so good. But I appreciate you stopping by, watching the video. I think this is the perfect video to send out right before Christmas for the 50th anniversary of this beautiful movie. And, as always, let me know in the comments what I should do next. Subscribe and help out the channel. And good luck, Godspeed, and good night.